Hello, crypto boys and ghouls, and welcome back to the channel, Tales from the Cryptmancer, where we feature content on play and earn games on the blockchain, such as Splinterforge. And in today's video, I wanted to detail my hero progression for my account in Splinterforge and talk about my strategy here over the last couple days, kind of what we've been trying to do. And maybe it's helpful for you if you're just starting off in Splinterforge and looking for a path to potential success. In either case, I think this strategy will be interesting to review. You may or may not agree with it, but it could prompt some additional strategies that you might want to implement for your particular account or hero. Now, let me start by showing you what I've acquired from my hero and talk a little bit about the results I'm getting in battles and on the leaderboard and the reasoning behind my choices for gear. So if I go here to my hero, these are the stats of my hero for my wizard currently. And you can see here it's fairly decent. It's not super impressive, but we're doing 13 magic damage. We have 10 speed, 14 armor, 34 health. We have max mana of 63, and we're able to bring up to 5 life monsters and 2 additional fire monsters to the battle. Now, what I can tell you is I made a conscious effort to level up certain pieces of gear at kind of a economy or budget type funding here to basically be able to regularly attain decent leaderboard spots across the leaderboards for all the bosses. Now, what I can share with you is that for core pieces of equipment, I've decided to go with gold foil epics. So specifically, if I look here at my hands or my gauntlets, I'm using a gold foil epic piece there with an added socket. Also for my body or my hauberk or my chest here, I'm also using a gold foil epic piece with 2 sockets. And for my legs, same thing. I'm using a gold foil epic with 2 sockets. Also for my offhand, in this particular case, for the tome, I'm using a gold foil epic with 2 sockets. Now, why have I chosen to go with gold foil epics for those pieces of my hero's gear? Well, one is they're essentially the same price as regular foil legendary pieces. So basically, you could buy on the P2P market right now a regular foil legendary gauntlet or a gold foil epic gauntlet for about the same price, essentially right now, 1-to-1. And specifically for me, why I'm going with gold foil epics for my gear is, well, I want to compete at the highest levels of the game ideally, but for the least amount of investment or cost. So if I look at epics here, for example, if we just take a look at the gauntlets, at level 1, gold foil epics, I'm getting a +2 stat bonus, whether it's, chest, hands, legs, whatever. It's +2. Now, if I look at the equivalent of a legendary piece of equipment, you can see at the base level, I get +3. So from a pure stat perspective, the legendary piece of equipment wins from that perspective. But it's not just about stats. It's about other pieces of data that you should be aware of for the long term. Now, for example, if I wanted to level this up to max stats for this particular piece of equipment, let's say it's a shield, I need 11 copies of it to get to a +8 stat. Now, let's say just 11 copies cost 20,000 forge a piece. So the cost for me to get a max level legendary piece of equipment here with a +8 stat bonus is 220,000 forgium. Now, if I look at the gold foil epics, on the other hand, for this particular piece of equipment, it's going to cost me 12 pieces of gear to get to max level. So let's say, again, the cost is approximately the same cost. Well, it's going to cost me just a little bit more. It's going to cost me, let's say if it's 20,000 Forgium per gold foil epic gauntlet, it's just going to cost me, instead of 220,000, it would cost me 240,000 forge. Now, the difference in stat is a legendary stat item will be a +8 stat, and the gold foil epic would be a +7. And you might be going, Tails, why would I pay more for less stats? You're paying essentially 1 BCX more to get 1 less stat. And there's 2 reasons for that. The first reason is that gold foils, by the nature of the item in the game, applies a 12% Forgium bonus earning per piece of gear on your character, and that adds up over time. In this particular case, if you look at the way my hero is outfitted, I have gold foil epic hands, chest, feet, or excuse me, legs, and an offhand. That's 4 pieces of gold foil epic gear. That's 4 pieces times 12% bonus for epics. That's giving me a 48% bonus to the Forgium I'm earning on a per battle basis. And let's just say I'm battling a diamond boss. Let's say that's giving me, I don't know, 70 forge base for damaging that with, let's say, 1,000 points of damage. Well, now I'm getting basically 48% bonus of that 70. So I'm earning an extra, let's say, 34 forge per battle just because of my equipment. And that adds up over time. Again, let's say I'm getting 30 extra forge per battle with that gold foil equipment layout. And let's say those are all at max level. It's costing me 4 BCX for those 4 pieces of gear. Let's say it cost me 80,000 extra Forgium to go for all gold foil epics. Over time, basically, let's just say if I'm battling at the diamond level, just as a hypothetical example, I would have to basically play 2,666 battles to get that Forgium back and free roll that into profit moving forward, which seems like a lot of battles, but it's really not. We're going to talk about that later in this video, but if it only takes me 15 mana to do a battle and I have 500 stamina, that means let's say every 8 hours, I can do 33 battles. So in the course of a day, let's say I'm able to do 100 battles a day approximately. So basically, this would ROI in essentially 27 days, which isn't that many days at all. So you can see here, it's not a terrible investment. Now, the second reason why I'm looking at gold foil epic pieces of equipment is because of the socket cost. Right now, I have 2 sockets on all my gold foil epics, but if I wanted to add a third, let's take a look at this. If I wanted to add a third socket to those gold foil epics to be able to bring extra runes, gems, etc., it's going to cost, from a socket perspective, because I already have 2 on this particular piece of equipment. To add a third socket, it's going to cost me 25,000 electrum for a third socket. Now, that's not too bad. And this is one of the main benefits of having the gold foil epics, is it allows me to get that third socket and extra stats, right? Because remember, I'm 1 stat below the max legendary stat, but if I can add a socket for cheap, I can easily get that stat back very easily through a gem or a rune, very inexpensively. Now, if I were to compare the legendary socket cost here, so if I were to add a socket to go from 1 socket to 2 sockets here, I believe it's 12,500 for the second socket, and then to get the third socket, it's 5 times that. So to add a third socket to a legendary piece of equipment, it's 62,500 electrum. Obviously, 62,500 electrum here is a lot more than what it would cost to add the third socket to an epic piece of equipment here, which is, like we talked about, 25,000. So it's basically more than a 50% discount on that third socket cost. And again, what we're talking about my build here is I want to have the most stats for the least price. Now, will I have the top of the line hero with all max stats? Not necessarily. Like if someone wants to spend 3 times as much, money, then they can have higher stats. But I'd rather be able to compete at the leaderboards, earn Forgium, and not have to pay all that extra Forgium or cash. Now, let's talk about the next piece of the puzzle. And this is really what I think is the most interesting part of the build that I've put in place. Is you're probably asking, well, what other type of equipment are you using, for example, for your boots or your weapon, or if you're the ranger, your quiver? And let's talk about that. So you can see here, my quiver for my ranger is giving me 6 speed, and I'm using a rare item with 2 sockets. And I'll show you my weapons here. My weapons are 6 damage for a rare bow with 2 sockets. And for my boots, it is a rare with 6 speed with 2 sockets. And for my wand, it's also a rare with 6 magic damage and 2 sockets. So why did I choose to equip and level up rare items for those pieces of equipment? Well, the answer is, again, it has multifaceted answers and multiple parts that I took into consideration when making this decision. But the first reason why I specifically chose my boots, my weapons, and the quiver for the ranger to be rare is because those are the most important stats for the hero to have, especially now in the game where you can earn on the leaderboard. And the reason for that is the boots give speed, the quiver gives speed, and obviously the bow and the wand do damage. And so why did I go with rares? Well, let's talk about that. Let's look at the equipment and go to the stats and the costs. If I look at rares here, if I go to the boots, for example, you can see here, the boots stats max out at 6 speed for rare boots. And if we look at the best boots in the game, well, those would be legendary boots. And that compares to this item here. I know this is gauntlets, but the stats are the same. Legendary boots would give you +8 speed. So let's talk about that. Like I have rare boots here. I'm getting 6 speed instead of 8 speed at the max level. But here's the difference. In this particular example, like if you were to go on the peer-to-peer or player-to-player trading, if you were to buy a legendary boot, regular foil legendary, it's going to cost you a minimum of 30,000 Forgium right now. And as we saw here, to get to max level legendary with that 8 speed boost, it's going to cost 11 BCX, right? You're going to have to buy 11 of those regular foil boots. So the cost of the 8 speed boots is going to be 330,000 Forgium. That's a lot of Forgium. That's a ton. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But let's go back to my boots. I have max level rare boots here. And a shout out to J.R. Smith in the game. So J.R. Smith really helped me out as I was trying to level up my rare equipment over the last few days. He was actually cycling through packs, and I was able to work with him to give him more forge to continue cycling. And when he pulled rares for the items that I needed to level up. So shout out to J.R. Smith for helping me level this hero, helping me test this strategy, and helping me create this video. Definitely a team player here, and I think we're able to help each other out in this exercise. That being said, as I was trying to get these boots to max level, it took 72 BCX to get the boots to a 6 speed here. Now, 72 BCX of boots, the going market price for rare items that are in demand, like boots, quivers, and weapons, over the past few days has been 1,000 forge. So the cost for me to max out my boots at 6 speed was approximately 72,000 forge. Now obviously 72,000 forge is less than 330,000 forge. It's actually saved me on boots 258,000 forge. Now the question is would you rather have 8 speed bonus on your hero, or would you rather have 6 speed on your hero and an extra 258,000 forge in your bank? Well, specifically, if you look at forge, let's just say forge is worth 770 Splintoshis. That saves me $181 basically on just that one piece of gear. Now, I don't have plus 8 speed, I have plus 6 speed, but as you'll see as we look at later on the video here, I have plenty of speed to compete at the highest levels of the leaderboard with rare items. So again, $181 saved here. If you extrapolate that from boots into quivers, into wands, and into bows, the math is going to be very similar. Basically times this by 4, and basically by going with rare items, by spending 72,000 forge roughly per max level rare, I'm able to save roughly $722 in going with rare max level copies versus legendary max level copies. Now again, I'll have less stats available than over a legendary equipped hero. I'll have 2 less speed for the boots, 2 less speed for the quiver, 2 less damage for the wand, and 2 less damage for the bow. But for at least for general stat purposes, again, by using my gold foil epic strategy, I can add that fairly inexpensive third socket to those other supplementary pieces of gear and kind of make that up in health and armor and other ways through sockets, through gems and runes that I'm adding there. So that's kind of the strategy. Again, for me, for my hero build, it was all about getting competitive stats for my hero at the cheapest price possible. And this is how I've done it. You can see here I've maxed out my boots, my quiver, my bow, and my wand here because it has that red border around the card showing its max level for that type. And you can see here, let's just take a look at the bow as an example. My bow is doing 6 damage base here. And if we look at if I had a regular foil legendary bow as an example, which would have been super expensive to acquire, it would have given me plus 8 damage, so a difference of 2 damage. I will definitely take the rare bow with less damage for a much lower cost at this point in time over the regular foil legendary. That's just me personally. Everyone may have a different take on that, but for me, it's all about efficiency, and this is the way I found it to be most efficient. Now, as we speak about efficiency, let's talk about results. So again, you can see my hero. This is the magic version of my hero, and I'll show you before the video is over the ranger version, which is actually a lot better than the mage. But over the last 48 hours since I equipped this build, I did I think it was a top 20 finish on I think it was the bronze boss, which gave me 15,000 forgium in leaderboard prizes. We just did a top, I believe, 20 finish on the gold boss, which gave 24,000 forgium. So in the last 48 hours, we've gotten 39,000 forgium in leaderboard rewards, not counting battle rewards. So what does that translate to, roughly speaking? In the last 2 days, we've basically achieved over $27 in leaderboard crypto rewards with our hero being kitted out the way they are. So that's good returns. Now, I also want to show you kind of where we are today. We're actually competing on 2 leaderboards for 2 bosses, and we still have 370 stamina available to use today. Let me show you where we're at. So on the diamond boss here, I just started working on this boss today. We're rank 89 on the leaderboard, and we're set to earn 10,000 forge for this boss. But we have a lot of damage still to do here. And I'm going to show you what a hero that's got increased stats can do. So you see in this particular rule set, it's got return fire and shield. So I'm going to want to attack this boss with a magic attack. So let's go ahead and do a battle here. And what we're going to see here is I'm able to use minimum mana to get maximum damage and points for the leaderboard. So I'm going to use Kitty Llama here, and I'm going to use basically my hero in a last stand mode, ideally, to get the damage done. Now I'm going to use 2 0 cost fiends here in this particular case, and I'm going to go with low cost speed modifiers here. So I'm going to use Creeping Ooze with slow, Flame Monkey with swiftness, Brownie with swiftness. I'm going to go to 2 mana. I'm going to use Naga Assassin with swiftness, and I'm going to go to 3 mana and use the Baby Unicorn with swiftness. So I'm using 22 mana here for this particular battle. And really what I'm doing is I'm capitalizing on my hero, which is costing me 0 mana to bring to the battle with these advanced stats to be able to go into last stand with Llama and to have a heal with Kitty here and really do a lot of damage. So let's see what kind of damage we're able to do at 22 mana. And remember, this is on the diamond level boss. So I'm just going to skip to results just for the sake of time for the video. And let's see what the results are here for this battle. So for 22 mana, we just did almost 1,500 damage. So 1,474 damage was the exact damage that we did for 22 mana. And because we had the gold foil epic pieces of equipment on our hero, we actually got 94 forge from this battle in addition to the leaderboard points. So that's really, really good. So if you look here again, we moved up pretty quickly there already to the spot 87. And if we use 22 mana, continue to do that, we'll quickly move up this leaderboard and get more forge from this boss. But what I also want to show you with the stats for your hero, if you're able to upgrade your equipment, let me switch over to the Ranger hero. And what I'm going to show you is I can actually simultaneously multi-leaderboard here because I'm using such little mana to do damage, that's competitive damage, that I can actually multi-leaderboard 2 bosses at the same time quite easily for Forgium rewards. So let me equip my Ranger here. And I will say that I did make a change between our last video and this video in that I am no longer free to play in this game. I actually did buy a Nartor's ring and invest in the game to get the speed bonus here. So what you can see here, my hero stats for my Ranger, I've got 13 damage, 16 speed, 22 armor, and 26 health here, plus some of the life force, fire force, and mana mastery benefits here. So let's go ahead and let's go to this silver boss. And you can see here I'm 25 on the leaderboard, set to earn 19,500 forge, and really haven't done anything spectacular here except just to run a couple battles. So I'm going to use a battle here. I'm going to use a similar strategy. This boss has void and shield. So basically, no matter what attack I use, it's going to be half damage. So I'm going to use the attack that has the highest speed. So I'm going to battle with my Ranger here. I'm going to use the same strategy. I'm going to use Kitty and Llama here. And I'm going to basically, with silver, you don't really have speed options. So the fiends don't have any speed. Basically, the only speed I can get here cheap is the ooze with slow for 1 mana. I could put, I guess, in the brownie here as well for 1 mana. There's not really an easy way for me to get a slow here at silver. So I'm just going to run with this. It's a 16 mana team. Again, we're going to go into last stand with our Ranger. Its speed is going to go up to kind of ludicrous speed levels for dodging. Let's go ahead and see what kind of damage we can do on this boss for 16 mana. So again, we're going to skip to the results just for the sake of the video. And you can see here, we did 612 points of damage to this boss for, 16 mana? And we received 34 Forge Gem for that. You can see here, we went from 25 to 23 on the leaderboard just with that battle. And if you look at recent battles here, we just did 612 with 16 mana. Let's just take a look at the other scores here, see if there's anything higher than ours. We have Mapleicious here with 618. And that's it. There's no one else that has a higher score than us for damage in the last 100 battles. And again, we're using rare level equipment, and we're doing pretty much max damage on this silver level boss. So it just goes to show you that, be smart. Don't necessarily have to invest in the big ticket items, those regular foil legendaries or anything like that. You can do just fine with 72,000 Forge Gem max level equipment. Now, granted, 72,000 Forge Gem is a lot of Forge Gem, but if you're earning Forge Gem on the leaderboard, that's pretty quick to gain back and to reinvest in your hero. And you don't have to go to max level right away. You can go to level 2, for example, or level 3, just to get your hero to a better spot to do more damage. So I hope this video has been informational for you. I hope it helps you kind of plan your hero's journey, kind of what you want to level up, what equipment you want to invest in combining or purchasing or targeting. And again, this was just my strategy, how I've kind of tackled the game and looked to play the meta game and, take advantages of prices in the marketplace to continue to compete on the leaderboard like we just have shown, at the same time do so at a cost-effective price point, especially when you look at ROI and the ability to reinvest in your hero efficiently. So until next time, keep stacking those stats.